They were two brilliant minds, identical in every way, poised to redefine the medical world with their unparalleled synchronicity and dedication. Born under the same star, Cyril and Stuart Marcus shared a bond so profound, so consuming, that it would ultimately lead them down a terrifying path into shared delusion and self-destruction. From their celebrated careers at the pinnacle of New York society to a reclusive descent into unimaginable squalor, this is the chilling, true story of twin gynecologists whose lives converged into a spiral of madness, revealing the profound fragility of the human mind and the devastating consequences of unchecked obsession and isolation. Welcome to the Dark Chapters. Nikola Tesla, a name synonymous with visionary genius and scientific marvel, was born on July 10, 1856, in Smiljan, a village within the Austrian Empire in what is now modern-day Croatia. His birth occurred during a tumultuous lightning storm, an auspicious beginning that his mother, Duca Mandic, reportedly interpreted as a sign that he would be a child of light. This early anecdote, perhaps apocryphal, nevertheless foreshadowed a life inextricably linked with the mysterious and powerful forces of electricity. Tesla was one of 5 children, born to an Orthodox priest, Milutin Tesla, and a highly intelligent, inventive mother who, despite her lack of formal education, possessed a remarkable memory and a talent for creating household tools and mechanical devices. It was from his mother that Tesla believed he inherited his inventive mind and photographic memory. From his earliest years, Tesla displayed an extraordinary and often unsettling intellect. His mind was not merely sharp, it was incandescent, capable of visualizing complex machines and concepts with astonishing clarity. He often experienced flashes of light, intense visions, and eidetic memories that bordered on hallucinations, which he would later describe as a crucial part of his inventive process. He could visualize an entire machine, piece by piece in his mind, test it mentally, and know if it would work without ever drawing a single sketch. This unique cognitive ability, a double-edged sword that sometimes bordered on the pathological, would both fuel his genius and contribute to his later struggle. His formal education began in Smiljan and continued in Gospic, where he excelled in mathematics and physics. He then attended the Polytechnic Institute in Graz, Austria, in 1875, where his fascination with electricity truly blossomed. It was here, during a demonstration of a Gramme dynamo, an early form of DC motor, that Tesla first conceived the revolutionary idea of alternating current. The Gramme dynamo, like all existing motors at the time, relied on direct current, DC, which required commutators, brushes that constantly sparked and overheated. Tesla, witnessing this inherent inefficiency, proposed an alternative, a motor that ran without commutators, powered by current that alternated its direction. His professor, a staunch proponent of DC, dismissed his idea as impractical, even impossible. Yet, the seed was planted, and Tesla's mind began to obsessively churn on the problem of creating a superior electrical system. Tesla's time at Graz was academically brilliant, but personally challenging. He became absorbed in his studies, often working long hours and living on meager sleep. His single-minded pursuit of knowledge and his peculiar habits sometimes isolated him from his peers. After leaving Graz, he briefly taught at his old school in Gospic before moving to Prague, where he attended Charles Ferdinand University, though he did not complete a degree. This period further honed his theoretical understanding of physics and mathematics, preparing him for the practical challenges of electrical engineering. In 1881, Tesla moved to Budapest, Hungary, where he worked at the Central Telegraph Office. While there, he experienced a profound mental breakthrough. During a walk in the park with a friend, as the sun set and he recited poetry, the solution to the alternating current motor problem suddenly flashed into his mind. He famously sketched the rotating magnetic field, the fundamental principle behind his AC motor, in the sand with a stick. This eureka moment was the genesis of his most significant invention, one that would power the modern world. Recognizing the immense potential of his AC system, but finding no one in Europe willing to fully support his radical ideas, Tesla made the fateful decision to emigrate to America, the land of opportunity and burgeoning industrial might. He arrived in New York City in 1884, a virtually penniless immigrant with little more than the clothes on his back, a few poems, and a letter of recommendation from Charles Batchelor, a former employer in Paris, addressed to Thomas Edison. The letter reputedly read, "My dear Edison, I know two great men, and you are one of them. The other is this young man." His arrival in America marked the beginning of a complex and ultimately tragic relationship with the established titans of the American electrical industry. Tesla, brimming with revolutionary ideas, entered a world dominated by Thomas Edison, the self-proclaimed wizard of Menlo Park and the staunch advocate of direct current, DC. Edison's DC system, though inefficient for long-distance transmission, was already widely implemented in America's nascent electrical grid. Tesla, a brilliant but socially awkward visionary, was about to enter a direct conflict with the pragmatic, business-savvy Edison, a clash that would define the early age of electricity and cast a long shadow over Tesla's legacy. Initially, Edison, recognizing Tesla's exceptional talent in electrical engineering, hired him to work at his machine works in New York. Tesla's primary task was to improve Edison's DC dynamos. He quickly proved his worth, making significant advancements that increased the efficiency and performance of Edison's equipment. It's rumored that Edison, impressed but perhaps wary of Tesla's radical ideas, offered him $50,000, 0 cents, an astronomical sum at the time, equivalent to over $1,500,000, 0 cents today, if he could redesign Edison's DC motors and generators to be more efficient. Tesla, taking the challenge seriously, worked tirelessly for months and successfully completed the task, delivering substantial improvements. However, when Tesla approached Edison to collect the promised payment, Edison famously dismissed it as a joke. "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor," Edison reportedly quipped, refusing to pay the agreed-upon sum. This moment was a pivotal betrayal, a profound disillusionment for the idealistic immigrant. Tesla, already a man of principle, was deeply offended by Edison's duplicity. This broken promise not only solidified his distrust of established industrialists, but also highlighted the fundamental ideological chasm between them. Edison, the shrewd businessman focused on immediate profitability and practical applications, and Tesla, the visionary idealist driven by scientific discovery and the pursuit of grand, world-changing ideas, often with little regard for the commercial implications. Disgusted by Edison's ethical practices and unwilling to compromise his principles, Tesla resigned from Edison's company after only 6 months. This decision, while principled, left him once again in a precarious financial position. For a brief period, he was forced to take on manual labor jobs, digging ditches for $2, 0 cents a day to survive, a stark and humiliating contrast to the intellectual work he was capable of. It was during this period of hardship that he met Western Union foreman Alfred S. Brown and New York lawyer Charles F. Peck, who recognized his extraordinary intellect. They saw past his temporary destitution and listened to his revolutionary ideas about alternating current. Brown and Peck, believing in Tesla's vision, provided the initial financial backing to form the Tesla Electric Company in 1886. This was the turning point, offering Tesla the opportunity to finally pursue his radical ideas independently. With their support, Tesla set up a laboratory and began to tirelessly work on developing his alternating current system, including motors, generators, and transformers. His inventive genius, now unleashed from the constraints of Edison's DC dogma, soared. This initial support, however, would be just the beginning of a complex and often fraught relationship with powerful financial backers, a dynamic that would continue to shape his career and ultimately contribute to his later struggles. With the formation of the Tesla Electric Company in 1886, Nikola Tesla finally had the platform to bring his revolutionary ideas to fruition. Freed from the constraints of Thomas Edison's direct current (DC) dogma, Tesla plunged into the development of his alternating current (AC) system, a vision that promised to transform electricity distribution. This marked the beginning of one of the most famous and fiercely contested rivalries in scientific history, the War of Currents. At the heart of the conflict was the fundamental difference between DC and AC. Edison's DC system, while effective for short distances, suffered from significant power loss over long transmissions. To power a city, multiple DC generating stations were required, each serving a limited radius. Tesla's AC system, however, utilized transformers to step voltage up for long-distance transmission with minimal energy loss, and then step it down for safe use in homes and businesses. This meant a single AC power plant could effectively electrify an entire region, making it vastly more efficient and economical for widespread power distribution. Tesla's inventions during this period were staggering in their brilliance and scope. He developed the polyphase alternating current system, including the induction motor, transformers, and the generators needed to produce and distribute AC power efficiently. His AC induction motor in particular was a marvel of engineering, a simple yet powerful device that required no commutators, eliminating the sparking and maintenance issues inherent in Edison's DC motors. These inventions were not just theoretical. Tesla quickly moved to build working prototypes, demonstrating their superior efficiency and reliability. His laboratory was a hive of intense activity, fueled by his singular focus and relentless work ethic. He often worked around the clock, sustained by his vision and the sheer thrill of scientific discovery. Despite the undeniable technical superiority of AC, Tesla faced an uphill battle. Edison was a powerful, entrenched figure, not just an inventor but a shrewd businessman and a formidable publicist. He had invested heavily in DC infrastructure and saw AC as a direct threat to his empire. What followed was a ruthless propaganda campaign designed to discredit Tesla's system and instill fear in the public. This became known as the War of Currents. Edison launched a campaign of misinformation, publicly demonizing AC as inherently dangerous. He performed gruesome demonstrations where animals, including elephants, were publicly electrocuted with alternating current to prove its lethality. He funded and even orchestrated the development of the electric chair, deliberately using AC for executions to associate Tesla's system with death. He hired propagandists to spread false rumors about AC and exaggerated the risks of high voltage. His arguments often lacked scientific basis, relying instead on fear-mongering and emotional appeals to sway public opinion. Edison, a master of public relations, understood that fear was a powerful deterrent, and he wielded it mercilessly against Tesla's revolutionary ideas. Tesla, a brilliant scientist but a poor self-promoter, struggled to counter Edison's aggressive tactics. He was more comfortable in the laboratory than on the public stage, and his idealistic nature recoiled from Edison's cutthroat business practices. He believed that the scientific merit of AC would speak for itself, failing to fully grasp the power of public perception and market manipulation. While he did participate in some public demonstrations, such as famously passing alternating current through his own body to illuminate light bulbs, these efforts were often overshadowed by Edison's more shocking and sensationalized displays. The turning point in the War of Currents came when George Westinghouse, another industrial titan, recognized the immense potential of Tesla's AC system. Westinghouse was a visionary entrepreneur who had made his fortune in railway air brakes. He saw that AC was the future of electricity and was willing to take on Edison. In 1888, Westinghouse acquired Tesla's patents for his polyphase AC system, offering Tesla a generous agreement that included a lump sum payment, reportedly $60,000, 0 cents in cash, and stock, and royalties based on the amount of electricity produced by his system. This partnership provided Tesla with the crucial financial backing and industrial power needed to truly challenge Edison. The alliance between Tesla and Westinghouse shifted the war onto an industrial battlefield. Westinghouse began building AC power plants and distribution networks, directly competing with Edison's DC installations. The two systems engaged in a fierce commercial struggle, with each company vying for contracts to light cities and power industries. This competition intensified in the late 1880s and early 1890s, becoming a battle for the very future of electrification. The ultimate victory for alternating current, and implicitly for Tesla's vision, arrived with the opportunity to illuminate the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. This was a monumental contract, a chance for either AC or DC to showcase its capabilities on a grand scale before a global audience. Edison, through his General Electric Company, formed from a merger, bid for the contract using his DC system, but his price was exorbitant. Westinghouse, using Tesla's AC patents, significantly underbid Edison, offering to light the entire exposition for a fraction of the cost. His bid was accepted, and the task of wiring and illuminating the White City fell to Westinghouse and Tesla. The Chicago World's Fair was a spectacular triumph for alternating current. For the first time, a large-scale, unified electrical system demonstrated the efficiency, safety, and versatility of AC power. Thousands of incandescent bulbs powered by Tesla's system bathed the exposition in a dazzling uniform light, a stark contrast to the localized, flickering DC lights of earlier demonstrations. Visitors were awestruck by the brilliance and seamless operation of the electrical displays. This event was a powerful public endorsement of AC, proving its practicality and superiority beyond any doubt. It effectively ended the war of currents in the public's mind, decisively establishing AC as the dominant power system of the future. The crowning achievement that solidified AC's dominance was the harnessing of Niagara Falls for hydroelectric power. This ambitious project, conceived to generate electricity on an unprecedented scale, required a system capable of transmitting massive amounts of power over long distances. The Niagara Falls Commission initially sought advice from leading experts, including Edison, who still advocated for DC. However, Tesla, with the backing of Westinghouse, passionately argued for the immense advantages of AC. His vision for a polyphase AC system to transmit power from Niagara Falls to Buffalo, New York, eventually won over the commissioners. In 1895, the Niagara Falls Power Company, utilizing Tesla's AC generators designed by Westinghouse Electric, began transmitting electricity to Buffalo, some 22 miles away. This was a monumental engineering feat, proving that large-scale, long-distance power transmission was feasible, but highly efficient with AC. The Niagara Falls project became the blueprint for modern power grids worldwide, directly demonstrating the practical application of Tesla's theoretical insights. It cemented his legacy as the true architect of the modern electrical age. Despite the monumental victory of AC, the partnership between Tesla and Westinghouse was not without its challenges. Westinghouse, facing severe financial difficulties and pressure from powerful banking interests, including J.P. Morgan, who had also invested in Edison's DC companies, asked Tesla to waive his royalty agreement. If Westinghouse went bankrupt, Tesla would lose everything. In an astonishing act of loyalty and perhaps naivety, Tesla, recognizing that the survival of AC was more important than his personal wealth, tore up the royalty contract, reportedly sacrificing billions of dollars in future earnings. This decision, while ensuring AC's triumph, left Tesla financially vulnerable later in life and highlighted his consistent prioritization of scientific advancement over personal gain. The war of currents was over, and Tesla's alternating current had won. His inventions had laid the foundation for the global electrical grid, powering cities, industries, and homes across the world. However, the bitter struggle, the intense competition, and the ethical betrayals he experienced left a lasting impact on Tesla. While his genius was undeniable, his personal battles and financial sacrifices would continue to shape his life, pushing him further into the eccentricities that would mark his later years. The world was now powered by his vision, but the man behind the revolution remained, in many ways, an uncelebrated and often forgotten hero. With the war of currents decisively won and alternating current established as the foundation of modern electrification, Nikola Tesla's visionary mind, ever restless, turned to an even more ambitious concept: the transmission of electrical power wirelessly, through the very air and earth, without the need for cumbersome wires. This dream, which had flickered in his imagination for years, now became his central obsession, promising a future of limitless, free energy for all. Tesla's initial forays into wireless transmission were already evident in his work with radio waves. While Guglielmo Marconi is often credited with the invention of radio, it was Tesla's foundational work on resonant circuits, high-frequency oscillators, and induction coils, including his famous Tesla coil, that paved the way. He had conducted demonstrations as early as 1893, wirelessly illuminating light bulbs from a distance, proving that energy could be transmitted through the air without direct physical connection. He even demonstrated a radio-controlled boat in 1898, showcasing the principles of remote control. While these were significant achievements in communication, for Tesla, they were merely stepping stones towards his grander vision of wireless energy. His dream was far more expansive than simple point-to-point wireless communication. Tesla envisioned a world wireless system, a global network capable of transmitting not just information, but vast amounts of power to any point on Earth. He believed this system would be universal, sustainable, and would revolutionize human civilization by providing abundant, clean energy to even the most remote corners of the planet. He saw it as a means to abolish poverty, foster global communication, and elevate humanity to a higher plane of existence. This was not a commercial venture driven by profit, but a humanitarian mission driven by a profound idealism. To achieve this audacious goal, Tesla required significant financial backing. He found an eager, if ultimately fickle, patron in J.P. Morgan, one of the most powerful financiers of the era. Morgan, interested in the potential for transatlantic wireless communication to compete with the cable telegraphy monopolies, was initially intrigued by Tesla's grand vision. In 1899, Morgan invested a substantial sum, reportedly $150,000, 0 cents, an enormous amount, equivalent to several $1 million today, to fund Tesla's most ambitious project, the construction of the Wardenclyffe Tower. Located in Shoreham, Long Island, New York, Wardenclyffe was to be the central hub of Tesla's world wireless system. The design was extraordinary, a massive 187-foot-tall wooden tower topped with a 55-ton mushroom-shaped copper dome. Beneath the tower, a labyrinthine network of tunnels extended hundreds of feet into the earth, designed to create a resonant connection with the Earth's electrical field, making the planet itself part of the gigantic circuit. Tesla believed the Earth acted as a giant conductor and that he could transmit energy through its very core with minimal loss. The facility was designed not just for a single transmission, but for continuous, large-scale power delivery. Construction of Wardenclyffe began in 1901. Tesla poured his immense energy and intellect into the project, overseeing every detail. He envisioned the tower radiating energy that could power ships at sea, illuminate remote villages, and facilitate instantaneous global communication. He saw a future where industries could draw power from the atmosphere and individuals could tap into a universal energy supply using simple receiving devices. It was a utopian vision, fueled by his conviction in the boundless potential of electricity. However, the project was plagued by mounting financial difficulties and a fundamental misunderstanding between Tesla and his primary investor. J.P. Morgan's interest was primarily in transatlantic communication, specifically a system that would allow him to bypass existing cable monopolies and transmit coded financial messages and stock market information quickly and securely. When Morgan learned that Tesla's ultimate aim was to transmit power wirelessly, potentially making electricity free and universally accessible, his enthusiasm waned dramatically. A system that made electricity free held no commercial appeal for a man whose power derived from control over resources. Morgan famously asked, "Where are you going to put the meter?" This question epitomized the clash between Tesla's philanthropic scientific ambition and Morgan's capitalist drive for profit. Morgan was not interested in enabling a world of free energy. He was interested in selling it. As the scope of Tesla's vision became clearer, Morgan's financial support dwindled. Tesla, ever the idealist, struggled with the practicalities of securing continuous funding. He desperately needed more capital to complete the enormous tower and its intricate underground mechanisms. He tried to explain the broader humanitarian benefits to Morgan, but the financier could only see a scheme that would undermine his ability to monetize electricity. The financial strain on Tesla became immense. He poured his personal wealth into the project, taking out loans and selling off other patents. He became increasingly desperate, writing letters to Morgan pleading for more funds, often going into scientific detail that the financier found bewildering or irrelevant. The cost of materials, labor, and his relentless experimentation spiraled out of control. The Wardenclyffe project, a symbol of his grandest dream, slowly transformed into a financial sinkhole. Adding to his woes was the rapid rise of Guglielmo Marconi. While Tesla had laid much of the theoretical and practical groundwork for radio communication, Marconi, a more pragmatic inventor and shrewd businessman, was quicker to patent and commercialize radio technology. In 1901, Marconi famously transmitted the first transatlantic radio signal, effectively achieving the very communication goal that Morgan had envisioned for Wardenclyffe, but with a much simpler, less expensive system. This public triumph for Marconi further diminished Morgan's interest in Tesla's more complex and expensive wireless power project, effectively cutting off any hope of further investment. Tesla was devastated by the failure of Wardenclyffe. The unfinished tower stood as a colossal monument to his unfulfilled dream, a silent testament to the clash between scientific idealism and capitalist realities. The personal toll was immense. He suffered a nervous breakdown and spiraled into a deep depression. The financial ruin he experienced was profound. He lost everything he had invested in the project and found himself deeply in debt. The failure of Wardenclyffe marked a turning point in Tesla's life. He began to retreat further from the public eye, becoming increasingly reclusive and eccentric. The betrayal by Morgan, the commercial triumph of Marconi over his own foundational work in radio, a dispute that would only be officially resolved in Tesla's favor by the U.S. Supreme Court after his death, and the sheer scale of his financial ruin left him deeply disillusioned. He felt misunderstood, undervalued, and betrayed by the very forces that should have supported his world-changing ideas. Despite this devastating setback, Tesla never fully abandoned his dream of wireless power. He continued to experiment, to theorize, and to fill notebooks with intricate designs and calculations. He believed that the principles he had discovered at Wardenclyffe were sound and that humanity would eventually realize the profound benefits of universal, free energy. However, his financial resources were now severely depleted, and his reputation as a viable investment prospect was damaged. The scientific community, though acknowledging his past brilliance, increasingly viewed him as an eccentric recluse, his grand visions dismissed as pipe dreams. The man who had envisioned the future was now left largely alone, clinging to a dream that the world was not yet ready to embrace, or perhaps too unwilling to commercialize without control. His once bright star, now clouded by debt and disillusionment, began its slow, painful descent into isolation and decline. The unfulfilled promise of Wardenclyffe Tower and the crushing financial ruin it brought marked a tragic turning point in Nikola Tesla's life. The man who had once stood at the forefront of electrical innovation, envisioning a future powered by his genius, now found himself increasingly isolated, disillusioned, and descending into a period of profound personal and professional decline. His once vibrant intellect, while still capable of flashes of brilliance, became increasingly clouded by eccentricity, paranoia, and a growing detachment from the practicalities of the world. The financial collapse associated with Wardenclyffe left Tesla deeply in debt and effectively bankrupt. He had poured all his personal funds and the last vestiges of his Westinghouse royalties into the project, only to see it abandoned. This economic devastation forced him to give up his grand laboratories and scale back his experiments. Without the backing of powerful financiers like Morgan or the industrial might of Westinghouse, whose initial agreement he had altruistically waived, Tesla found it increasingly difficult to secure funding for his ambitious, often fantastical, new projects. Investors, now wary of his grand, uncommercialized visions and the public failure of Wardenclyffe, largely turned away. This chronic lack of financial support became a constant source of stress and a major impediment to his continued inventive work. His once thriving social life, never particularly robust, withered almost entirely. Tesla had always been a solitary figure, preferring the company of his ideas to that of people. However, in his decline, this preference intensified into extreme reclusiveness. He ceased attending social functions, stopped meeting with former colleagues, and his interactions with the few remaining friends became increasingly rare and strained. He never married and had no children, and his family in Europe was distant, both geographically and emotionally. His only constant companions became his pigeons, particularly a white pigeon he claimed to love and communicate with, an eccentricity that further solidified his image as an isolated mad scientist. This profound loneliness and lack of genuine human connection denied him the emotional support and external perspective that might have cushioned his decline. Tesla's personal eccentricities, once charming quirks of a genius, began to escalate into outright compulsions and obsessions. He developed an extreme aversion to germs, constantly washing his hands and demanding impeccably clean environments. He meticulously calculated the volume of soup bowls and coffee cups before eating or drinking. He lived in various New York City hotels, moving frequently due to unpaid bills, but always demanding specific room numbers that were divisible by 3. These peculiar habits, while seemingly harmless, indicated a mind increasingly grappling with an internal disquiet that manifested as rigid, ritualistic behavior. The betrayal he felt from J.P. Morgan, coupled with Marconi's commercial success with radio, for which Tesla believed his own fundamental patents were stolen, festered into deep-seated paranoia. He began to believe that his inventions were being suppressed, his ideas stolen, and that powerful forces were actively working against him. He grew increasingly suspicious of visitors, believing they might be spies seeking to pilfer his intellectual property. This paranoia was not entirely unfounded, given his past experiences, but it escalated to irrational levels, alienating potential collaborators and further isolating him. He started speaking of receiving communications from other planets, a claim that, while intriguing, pushed him further into the realm of fringe science in the eyes of the mainstream scientific community. His once sharp, practical intellect, while still capable of bursts of insight, became increasingly unfocused and theoretical. He continued to envision grand projects such as a teleforce weapon, often referred to as a death ray, or a system to provide limitless energy from the cosmos. But these ideas lacked the practical grounding and meticulous engineering he had applied to his earlier inventions. His notebooks from this period are filled with complex, sometimes indecipherable equations and theories that were difficult for others to understand or replicate. He struggled to translate his advanced concepts into patentable, commercially viable products, further frustrating his attempts to secure funding and re-establish his relevance. In his later years, Tesla became a familiar, if enigmatic, figure in New York. He would take daily walks, often feeding pigeons in Bryant Park, a stark contrast to his earlier public demonstrations and his role as a pioneering inventor. He spent his days in relative obscurity, living off meager patent royalties and occasional financial assistance from benefactors, including indirectly from Westinghouse and later the Yugoslavian government. He lived in increasingly modest hotel rooms, struggling to pay his bills. His once elegant appearance gave way to a more disheveled look, and his health, both physical and mental, deteriorated. He suffered from chronic pain, believed to be neurological, and his peculiar habits became more pronounced. The scientific community, which had once lauded his genius, now largely dismissed him as an eccentric, a relic of a bygone era. His radical ideas about free energy and interplanetary communication, while prophetic in some aspects, were often too far ahead of their time, or presented in a manner that alienated the more conservative scientific establishment. He was often seen as a brilliant mind that had lost its way, a tragic figure consumed by his own grand, unsupported visions. Despite this decline in public standing, Tesla remained fiercely independent, refusing to compromise his scientific ideals for commercial gain or societal acceptance. The irony of his situation was immense. The man whose inventions powered the modern world was living in poverty and obscurity, while others reaped the enormous financial benefits of his foundational work. His contributions to radio, alternating current, and countless other technologies were often attributed to others, or simply forgotten by a public eager for new sensations. This lack of recognition, combined with his financial woes and personal isolation, fueled his sense of bitterness and injustice. Nikola Tesla died alone in his room at the New Yorker Hotel on January 7, 1943, at the age of 86. His passing was quiet, largely unnoticed by the world at large amidst the turmoil of World War II. He was found 2 days later by a maid who entered his room after seeing a "Do Not Disturb" sign on his door. The genius who had dreamed of lighting the entire planet lay dead, alone and forgotten, in a small hotel room. A tragic end for a man whose vision had illuminated the world. His death marked the end of a life filled with extraordinary invention, profound struggles, and a slow, agonizing decline into isolation and obscurity. A stark and poignant contrast to the vibrant, electrified world his mind had helped create. Nikola Tesla died alone in his hotel room in New York City on January 7, 1943, at the age of 86. His passing during the turmoil of World War II went largely unnoticed by the general public. He was discovered 2 days later by a maid who entered his room after seeing a "Do Not Disturb" sign. The man whose mind had envisioned and helped create the electrified world was found quietly deceased, alone and largely forgotten, a stark and poignant contrast to the vibrant future his genius had powered. However, the story of Nikola Tesla did not end with his physical demise. In the decades that followed his death, a remarkable rediscovery of his legacy began to unfold. This resurgence of interest transformed him from a forgotten eccentric into a revered figure, recognized as one of history's most important inventors and a true prophet of the technological age. The initial steps toward his posthumous recognition were taken almost immediately after his death. Due to the sensitive nature of his unpatented inventions and his recent discussions about a teleforce weapon, often dubbed a death ray, with the U.S. government, the FBI, acting on orders from the alien property custodian, seized all of Tesla's papers, scientific models, and correspondence from his hotel room. This immediate confiscation hinted at the continued, if quiet, recognition of the potential significance of his work by official bodies, even if the public had largely forgotten him. Many of these seized documents remained classified for decades, only fueling later theories about suppressed technologies. For a period, Tesla remained a niche interest, celebrated primarily by engineers and scientists who understood the fundamental importance of his work on alternating current. Textbooks grudgingly acknowledged his role, but the popular narrative often still centered on Edison as the sole titan of electricity. However, the mid-20th century saw a slow but steady growth in appreciation for his genius. The true acceleration of Tesla's rediscovery began in the latter half of the 20th century, driven by several factors. The rise of technology and the internet. As technology advanced, particularly in fields like wireless communication, robotics, and remote control, the foresight of Tesla's earlier, seemingly outlandish ideas became increasingly apparent. The internet, in particular, played a crucial role. It provided a platform for enthusiasts, independent researchers, and curious minds to delve into historical archives, share information, and debate scientific legacies outside of mainstream academic or corporate narratives. This decentralized exploration allowed Tesla's story to bypass traditional gatekeepers and reach a global audience. Reassessment of historical narratives. There was a growing trend to reevaluate historical figures and challenge established narratives, particularly those where contributions might have been downplayed due to commercial rivalries or political expediency. Tesla's conflict with Edison and Marconi, often portrayed as a victory for the commercially astute, began to be re-examined through a more critical lens, highlighting the ethical compromises and the true brilliance of Tesla's foundational work. Pop culture and science fiction, Tesla's life, filled with grand visions, eccentricities, and a sense of tragic genius, proved fertile ground for pop culture. He became a compelling figure in science fiction, comic books, video games, and later, films. This fictionalized portrayal, while not always historically accurate, served to introduce his name and his revolutionary ideas to new generations, sparking genuine interest in his true story. The mystique surrounding his lost inventions and his prophetic visions resonated deeply with audiences fascinated by scientific pioneers. One of the most significant moments in his posthumous recognition was the adoption of the Tesla, TE, as the Standard International (SI) unit of magnetic flux density in 1960. This was a monumental honor, officially enshrining his name in the lexicon of physics and engineering. It meant that every time scientists and engineers worldwide referred to magnetic fields, they were implicitly acknowledging Tesla's fundamental contributions to electromagnetism. This formal recognition by the scientific community served as a powerful validation of his lasting impact. The U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in 1943, shortly after his death, which upheld Tesla's patents related to radio technology over Marconi's, was another crucial piece of his posthumous vindication. While too late to benefit Tesla financially or personally, this legal decision formally acknowledged that much of Marconi's radio success was built upon Tesla's earlier foundational work. This ruling, often cited by his proponents, helped to correct a historical injustice and secure his rightful place as a primary inventor of radio communication. Tesla's broader visions, once dismissed as the ramblings of a mad scientist, began to gain renewed attention. His ideas about wireless energy transmission, though never fully realized in the way he envisioned, have seen renewed interest in the 21st century, with advancements in inductive charging, resonant energy transfer, and even debates about beaming solar power from space. His concepts, once considered fantastical, are now being explored with serious scientific rigor, demonstrating how truly ahead of his time he was. This futuristic resonance of his ideas has cemented his image as a prophet of technology. Today, Nikola Tesla is celebrated globally, Museums are dedicated to his life and work, statues stand in his honor, and scientific institutions bear his name. He is a frequent subject of documentaries, books, and articles, exploring not just his inventions but also the complex interplay of genius, ambition, and the harsh realities of the capitalist system that so often constrained him. His personal story, the brilliant immigrant, the visionary betrayed by financiers, the lonely eccentric, has resonated deeply with people who champion the underdog and who value intellectual purity over commercial success. His legacy is now far more complex and nuanced than the simplistic rival to Edison narrative that once defined him. Tesla is recognized for his pivotal role in developing the alternating current AC electrical system, which powers virtually every home and industry worldwide. The AC induction motor, a cornerstone of modern machinery. Fundamental contributions to radio technology, remote control, and robotics. Early concepts of radar, X-rays, and even renewable energy sources. The rediscovery of Nikola Tesla is a powerful testament to the enduring nature of true genius, even when overshadowed by commercial interests and personal struggles. His life serves as a constant reminder that some visions are so far ahead of their time that their true value is only fully appreciated generations later. He may have died in isolation, but his ideas, far from being forgotten, have risen to illuminate the very future he tirelessly worked to invent. Nikola Tesla's journey from forgotten genius to celebrated icon is a powerful testament to the enduring nature of true vision, even when it's ahead of its time. His dreams continue to inspire, challenging us to imagine a future powered by clean, abundant energy. What aspect of Tesla's rediscovery do you find most fascinating, and what do you believe his ultimate legacy truly is? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If this story of brilliance, betrayal, and belated recognition captivated you, please hit that like button, subscribe to The Dark Chapters for more stories of hidden histories and extraordinary lives, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another journey into the past. And don't forget to share this video with someone who believes in the power of a single mind to change the world.